Hi guys, it's me. Just can't believe this. We are on our last reading of Henry V. So we have 12 pages to get through, so I'm going to not belabor this. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So we are on page 225 starting with Catherine, the very first full speaker on the page. Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France? Remember, she's speaking in broken French. Or excuse me, in broken English. King Henry says, no, it is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate, but in loving me, you should love the friend of France. For I love France so well that I will not part with a village of it. So Henry's kind of making a joke. I love it so much that I want it all, and I'm not going to part with any of it. I will have it all mine. And Kate, when France is mine and I am yours, then yours is France and you are mine. So you get France back when you marry me, because I'm going to have France. Catherine says, I cannot tell what is that. So she says, I don't really understand that meaning. And Henry says, no, Kate, I will tell thee in French, which I am sure will hang upon my tongue like a new married wife about her husband's neck, hardly to be shook off. Je compte sur la possession de France et quand vous avez la possession de moi. Let me see, what then? Saint Denis be my speed. So Saint Denis is the patron saint of France, just as Saint George is the patron saint of England, as we've already learned. So he's asking for Saint Denis's assistance. Dans votre est France et vous êtes mienne. It is as easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom as to speak so much more French. I shall never move thee in French, unless it is to be laughed at. Sauf votre honneur, le français que vous parlez, il est meilleur que l'anglais lequel je parle. So she says, upon my honor, or save my honor, I think your French is better than my English. And Henry says, no, faith, it is not, Kate. But thy speaking of my tongue, and I thine, most truly falsely, must needs be granted to be much at one. But Kate, dost thou understand thus much English? Canst thou love me? Catherine says, I cannot tell. King Henry says, can any of your neighbors tell, Kate? I'll ask them. So he's joking with her now. Come, I know thou lovest me, and at night when you come into your closet, that's just your bedroom, you'll question this gentlewoman about me, and I know, Kate, you will to her dispraise those parts in me that you love with your heart. But good Kate, mock me mercifully, the rather, gentle princess, because I love thee cruelly. If ever thou beest mine, Kate, as I have a saving faith within me tells me thou shalt, I get thee with scambling. So he says, I'm working very hard to get you. And thou must therefore needs prove a good soldier breeder. Shall not thou and I, between St. Denis and St. George, compound a boy half French, half English, that shall go to Constantinople and take the Turk by the beard? Shall we not? What sayest thou, my fair flower de luce? So fleur-de-lis is the symbol for the French royalty. And he's talking about combining the royalty of England and the royalty of France together, and that with such a king that would unite two kingdoms, that he could go and conquer the Turks. So we're talking about kicking them out of the Holy Land. Okay. And also, yeah, okay. All right. Catherine says, I do not know, Dad. And King Henry says, no, 'tis hereafter to know, but now to promise. So he says, I know you don't know if you love me yet, but you need to promise me now that you'll marry me. You will endeavor for your French part of such a boy, and for my English moiety, take the word of a king and a bachelor. How answer you, la plus belle Catherine du monde, mon très cher et divin, days. I can't do my French today. Okay, so he says, the most beautiful Catherine of the world, and my very great, let's see, what does she say? My very beautiful, or my very dear and divine goddess. Kind of a thing to be called, huh? He's really pouring it on now. And she says, Your Majesty of false French enough to deceive the most sage demoiselle that is in France. So she says, you have enough French in you to fool the most wise girl in France. Henry says, Now fie upon my false French. By mine honor and true English, I love thee, Kate. by which honor I dare not swear thou lovest me, yet my blood begins to flatter me that thou dost, notwithstanding the poor and untempering effect of my visage. So he says he's not very attractive, but I think he doesn't really mean it. Now, beshrew my father's ambition. He was thinking of civil wars when he got me. Therefore was I created with a stubborn outside and with an aspect of iron, that when I come to woo ladies, I fright them. So he says, I look so rough, I scare 'em. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that ill layer-up of beauty, can do no more spoil upon my face. Thou hast me, if thou hast me at the worst. So this is the worst I'm going to be. I'm only going to get better from here. And thou shalt wear me, if thou wear me, better and better. So you'll get used to me, and you'll love me more and more. And therefore tell me, most fair Catherine, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avouch the thoughts of your heart with the looks of an empress. Take me by the hand and say, Harry of England, I am thine. So he's not giving her much time to think about this, probably on purpose, although she's had 5 years to think about this. So he's hoping that she's already come to terms with it. And he says, which word shall no sooner bless mine ear withal, but I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Henry Plantagenet is thine. So that's his official royal name, Plantagenet. He's from the Plantagenet line. Who though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with the best king, thou shalt find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer in broken music, for thy voice is music, and thy English broken. Therefore, Queen of all, Catherine, break thy mind to me in broken English. Wilt thou have me? That is as it shall please de roi mon père, so the king my father. And Henry says, no, it will please him well, Kate. It shall please him, Kate. So he says, I promise you it will please him. Catherine says, then it shall also content me. Upon that, I kiss your hand and I call you my queen. So I'm not going to make you listen to me say all this French, but basically she says, no, you can't kiss my hand. That would actually, she tries to say that it would dishonor him, but she's really just trying to get out of the kiss. And he says, then I will kiss your lips, Kate. And she says, no, the girls in France, that they do not kiss before their wedding. So she's saying you have to wait till the wedding. And Henry doesn't understand her. He kind of pretends like he doesn't. He says, Madam, my interpreter, talking to Alice, what says she? And Alice says, that it is not de fashion pour les ladies of France. I cannot tell what is baiser in English, baiser in English. And Henry says, that's to kiss. And Alice says, Your Majesty entendre better que moi. So she says, you understand French better than I speak English. Henry says, it is not a fashion for the maids in France to kiss before they are married, would she say? And Alice says, oui, vraiment. So that is exactly what she's saying. And Henry says, oh, Kate, nice customs curtsy to great kings. Dear Kate, you and I cannot be confined within the weak list of a country's fashion. We are the makers of manners, Kate, and the liberty that follows our places stops the mouths of all fine faults, as I will do yours for upholding the nice fashion of your country and denying me a kiss. Therefore, patiently and yielding, and he kisses her. You have witchcraft in your lips, Kate. There is more eloquence and a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. So he says, it's a good thing that you weren't the one negotiating the peace, because her kiss would lead him to make unwise decisions. And then here come all of the nobles and the king of France and the queen. And he says, here comes your father. Burgundy says, God save your majesty, my royal cousin, teach you our princess English. And Henry says, I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English. Is she not apt? Our tongue is rough, coz, and my condition is not smooth, so that, having neither the voice nor the heart of flattery about me, I cannot so conjure up the spirit of love in her that he will appear in his true likeness. So when he talks about the spirit of love, Burgundy's going to make jokes about the fact that the spirit of love is actually Cupid, and that's why you're going to hear him say some silly things. So Burgundy says, pardon the frankness of my mirth if I answer you for that. If you would conjure in her, you must make a circle. If conjure up love in her in his true likeness, he must appear naked and blind. So he's talking about little Cupid, naked and blind. You can see him on the opposite page. I'm sure you've seen him before as a little baby boy. With his bow and arrow. Can you blame her then, being a maid, yet rosed over with the virgin crimson of modesty, if she deny the appearance of a naked blind boy and her naked seeing self? It were, my lord, a hard condition for a maid to consign to. So he's joking about if little naked Cupid were standing here, that would be hard for Catherine. And King Henry says, yet they do wink and yield, as love is blind and enforces. Burgundy says, they are then excused, my lord, when they see not what they do. Then, good my lord, teach your cousin to consent winking. So he's saying, talk her into this then. Help me talk her in. And Burgundy says, I will wink on her to consent, my lord. I'll give her my wink to say she can say yes. If you will teach her to know my meaning. For maids well summered and warm kept are like flies at Bartholomew tide, blind, though they have their eyes, and then they will endure handling which before would not abide looking on. So, he's talking about flies, and it's something kind of like bees, so that when it's warm, they move slower, and that's kind of what he's talking about. So, King Henry says, this moral ties me over to time in a hot summer, and so I shall catch a fly, your cousin, in the latter end, and she must be blind too, as love is, my lord, before it loves. So, playing on the term, love is blind. It is so, and you may, some of you, thank love for my blindness, who cannot see many a fair French city for one fair French maid that stands in my way. So, Henry says, if love does make us blind, then you can be very thankful, because she has blinded me from wanting to attack any more French cities. And the King of France says, yes, my lord, you see them prospectively, the cities turned into a maid, for they are all girdled with maiden walls that war hath never entered. And Henry says, shall Kate be my wife? And King of France says, so please you. And Henry says, I am content. So the maiden cities you talk of may wait on her. So the maid that stood in the way for my wish shall show me the way to my will. And the King of France says, we have consented to all terms of reason. Is it so, my lords of England? Westmoreland says, the king hath granted every article, his daughter first, and in sequel all, according to their firm proposed natures. Only he hath not yet subscribed to this, Exeter says, where when your majesty demands that the King of France, having any occasion to write for matter of grant, shall name your highness in this form and with this addition in French. And only thing that gets added is that Henry is the heir to France. The King of France says, nor this I have not, my brother, so denied, but your request shall make me let it pass. And Henry says, I pray you then, in love and dear alliance, let that one article rank with the rest, and therefore give me your daughter. Take her, fair son, and from her blood raise up issue to me, that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with envy of each other's happiness, may cease their hatred, and this dear conjunction plant neighborhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance, his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France. So he agrees with Henry that a union between the two in a marriage will bring peace between the two countries. And the Lord say, Amen. Now welcome, Kate, and bear me witness all, that here I kiss her as my sovereign queen. And he kisses her. God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your hearts in one, your realms in one, as man and wife, being two, are one in love. So be there twixt your kingdoms such a spousal that never may ill office or fell jealousy, which troubles oft the bed of blessed marriage, thrust in between the paction of these kingdoms to make divorce of their incorporate league, that English may as French Englishmen receive each other. God speak this, Amen. So the queen is speaking a blessing on their marriage, and everyone says Amen, and she also says that she hopes this brings union and peace. And Henry says, prepare we for our marriage, on which day my lord of Burgundy will take your oath, and all the peers, for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate, and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be. All right, so here's the epilogue, the end of the play, and it is a sonnet, and we have very little time, so I'm going to hurry. Thus far with rough and all unable pen, our bending author hath pursued the story, in little room confining mighty men, talking about the play again, mangling by starts the full course of their glory, small time, but in that small most greatly lived this Star of England. So this little bit of time is a picture of this great Star of England, Henry V. Fortune made his sword, by which the world's best garden he achieved, again the garden imagery for France, and of it left his son imperial lord. Henry VI, an infant bands, crowned King of France and England, did this king succeed, whose state so many had the managing, that they lost France, and made his England bleed, which oft our sage hath shown, and for their sake, in your fair minds, let this acceptance take. All right, gotta go. Bye.